Y'all? It's your hometown hero, the real Adam Coleman, with Tru-ID Apologetics, and just dropping this quick video, real briefly. Obviously, a lot of folks' attention has been on the situation going on in Minneapolis, stemming from the murder of George Floyd, and also, unfortunately, we got these riots going on right now. Tensions are very high, and I'll probably do a whole session on it, a talk session on it rather, pretty soon. But just last night, I was part of a dialogue. I was graciously invited by Pastor William Bennett on his Facebook channel for a panel discussion in which I, kind of shared my 2 cents, and it was just a really cool dialogue. And so I want to share a snippet of some things that I had to say on that there. And I would encourage people to, click on the link in the description to go ahead and check out the full dialogue. But then, just want to kind of leave you guys with this here. I understand it's a very tense time, tense situation. And, my prayers are with everybody involved, and that we see Christians rise to the occasion and, be a light during this time. So love y'all, man. Check out this clip. Right. Right. Well, I mean, something. Let me say this first too. So, brother, this is my first time meeting you, David Brown, I believe.
Bless you, bro.
Something very important. You're talking about the delay of justice, and I think what we have to understand, or put it this way, people don't understand how dangerous it is when those who are rulers over a people, have some sort of authority in any given context, when they themselves become wicked oppressors. I don't think people understand how dangerous that is. You see what I'm saying? Because let me clarify. I'm not suggesting that people go out harm police. I'm not suggesting that at all. But I just want you to think about, when we had that situation, a couple of years ago with Eric Garner. You know what I'm saying? That where he was, he couldn't breathe either. He was choked out for some loose cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, 2 police officers lost their lives in a backlash on that. I'm saying some months later, you had the situation down there in Dallas, where you had the sniper situation where a guy, just started opening it up on police in broad daylight. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not advocating those things at all. I'm just saying that when rulers, people who are supposed to exercise their authority in a righteous manner, do not do so, then when people lose that respect for authority like that, bad things happen.
Yep.
Well, bad things happen. Listen, I love the kind of, I've been to Africa. You know what I'm saying? I had a great time there. But I witnessed firsthand, and by firsthand, I mean being held at gunpoint. I witnessed firsthand when you don't have the rule of law being respected by authority figures. It gets dangerous. It's dangerous for everybody. The most dangerous people to police officers out there today is the silent police officer.
Right.
The silent officer. The gentleman, I'm gonna tell you, the most dangerous guy in that whole video was the Asian man who was standing between the bystanders and the man who had the smirk on his face taking that George Floyd's life. The most dangerous guy there is the Asian guy who stood there, bucking on the bystanders and so forth. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's that guy,
come on,
who empowers the murderer to continue to do what they do, and then will conceal it after they do so. Yeah, that's the guy you got to watch out for. Now, and then you mentioned systemic racism. Let me be clear about something. People are under the mistaken impression that just because each of the individuals involved in this murder weren't white, that therefore that somehow removes race out of the picture. Let me clarify something for you, okay? With systemic racism, you don't need all the individual players in the scene to be racist in order for systemic racism to have its work. All you need is for an individual who, within the broader scheme of our society, is depicted as a threat, is depicted as less than, is depicted as somebody who does not deserve your respect. That's all you need. And all you need is individuals who are willing to go along with that narrative and then treat that person unjustly. Let's be clear. You know what I'm saying? There's white people, white officers out here who are murdering folk, and there's black officers out here who are letting it happen because they value that color blue more than they value individuals who are made in the image of God. You know what I'm saying? So let's dispel the myth, you know what I'm saying, that all of a sudden, just because, it's not just white people. Listen, I hear you. And yet and still, we have to call attention to racism when it rears its ugly head. And it's dangerous for everybody. Again, let me clarify. I ain't trying to lose my job over this. You know what I'm saying? For something I didn't say. I did not say I encourage people to go out there and do violence. I'm saying that there's a cause and effect relationship between irresponsible wicked, unjust leaders and those who they're ruling over doing things that are wicked and unjust in backlash to that. You have to understand that. And just kind of one thing I want to leave out with is, and I say this with all due respect, man. I mean, we need to make sure that we do have the shoulders of giants that we can stand on. We can definitely draw from the victories that we've had along the way. One thing I can't stand, and I got to say it, but one thing I can't stand in terms of what I see in the conscious community often is a defeatist mentality with respect to our history and how far we've come. And I know you did a debate on that, and I think you did a phenomenal job. With that being said, I think we also have to be careful not to look back at, Dr. King and the Civil Rights Act and all those kind of things and still be taking victory laps. We've been taking victory laps for about 40 years now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think it's because we misinterpreted what the civil rights movement achieved. You know what I'm saying? The civil rights movement gave us access to a system that had previously been, we'd been, pushed away from or shut off from, rather. So now we have access in ways that we didn't before. But it's just like if I say, okay, I'm going to give you the keys to a car, but you can't drive. You know what I'm saying? You're going to either wreck yourself or you're just not going to be able to go anywhere. And so likewise, even though the civil rights movement gave us economic access, it gave us political access in ways we didn't have before. Unfortunately, our leaders got cut off, like a Malcolm, like a Martin, Medgar Evers, you know what I'm saying? All those, individuals, unfortunately, they got cut off such that the follow-up movement, which should have been a more economic empowerment, political empowerment, that movement never occurred. And so we've been taking victory laps, in regard to the civil rights movement since then. And what we need to do now is ensure that we're taking the time to educate one another. You know what I'm saying? It starts in the home. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, every Black, we talked about, manhood. Every man needs to be instructing their kids on what it looks like to have to maintain good credit. You know what I'm saying? To engage in the stock market, investments, real estate, so forth. Those are the ways that men economically protect, later generations, right? Through that information. And with that being said, as we build as a community, there is no firmer foundation than the biblical foundation. Because, and I could go further than that, people can check out the channel, but that's the strongest foundation that we can find from a moral standpoint. And in terms of even economically, I won't get into it now, but even economically, it helps us to lay out a plan that can work for us on down the line. So, we need to continue to build. And when we think about incidences, as unfortunate as, the Floyd incident, Taylor, Arbery, as unfortunate as those things are, back in, this last thing I'm gonna say, back in the 60s, Martin Luther King was very, explicit that he would, take incidences like those. I think about like Emmett Till, for example, and use those to bring awareness to their cause, right? Now we have to understand that what we're trying to bring awareness to is different than what they were trying to bring awareness to back then. What we need to be bringing awareness to now is that when these incidences happen, okay, look, what we need to focus on is how do we prevent this from happening again? Here are the economic and political steps that we can take to get there. That's what we need to be bringing awareness to. Yeah. We don't want to be bringing awareness to the incident and then stop there, which is why I love this discussion, because we cover so much ground talking about solutions, talking about the right frame of mind. Those are the kind of things that we need to be pointing to. And I think that the Black church is pivotal in that. Shout out to my man, Isaiah Robertson, by the way, who I think is watching. He's about to drop a book, Black Church Empowered, which is really encapsulates this whole discussion. And I would highly recommend that people go ahead and purchase it as it comes out, because it really lays out exactly what we're dealing with right now.
No doubt, man.